So if you're multidisciplinarian, is being a 5 out of 10 like the best way to go about it? You could, in theory, get speaking fees for both sciences.
See, that might be the most controversial thing we've said so far. I don't think the natural sciences respect the social sciences one iota.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think they would listen to the social scientists at all.
How do you think your Gen Z viewership will feel about this episode, Cole, Scott?
I think they will not like it at all.
I don't think Gen Z watches long format anything anyway.
I don't know about that. I do think podcasts
think
have
so?
become like ubiquitous. Yeah, I do. Like long format hour plus. I think there's just so many out there. There is a lot of options. But I could be wrong. I don't know for sure.
Welcome to Directionally Correct, a People's podcast with Cole and Scott. Today's guest, Michael Hutchins, Senior Manager at AWS.
Hey, Directionally Correct fans. If you're looking to stay connected to the podcast, make sure to subscribe to our Substack newsletter, watch our videos on YouTube, or listen to the podcast on your app of choice. This podcast is dedicated to you to help educate and entertain you on how to effectively do people analytics. All opinions are our own and do not reflect those of any other organization. So about the docuseries I watched on WWE, the funny part about it is a lot of the old-timey wrestlers are now administrators. And what they do is they kind of like quasi take you behind the scenes because they don't really tell you how the sausage is getting made. But like part of the story now is that everybody knows it's fake. And so they take you into like how they're crafting the narratives and the storylines and who hates who and how do you still keep people on their toes. But the funny part is it's all the people who are like the storytellers now. They're like Triple H, you know, from
they used to be like former badasses.
Yeah, like
now
former
they're
badasses.
in charge of all that sort of stuff.
I think Hacksaw Jim Duggan is one of the administrators now. I may be misremembering that, but yeah.
It would make sense, like, after 30 years in the game or more, like, what other skill set do you actually have besides being able to craft a wrestling story?
Yeah, you can barely walk. All your spine is fused to your other spine.
Yeah, you just have, like, adamantium spine. Like, you got to use 2 canes, this sort of thing.
Are you guys reminiscing on Hulk Hogan?
Close enough, man.
R.I.P.
Like Jim Duggan.
2 Canes, is that also a WWE reference?
That's going to be my old rapper name.
2 Canes. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
2 Canes.
yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
How you doing, Hutch? It's been a little while. It's good to see you back here.
Yeah, good to see you too. Hold on. That one. Okay, now we're good. That one I didn't want on camera. The rest of this is fine. But we're
scroll into the background if you can, if you're listening.
Yeah. I'm good. It's good to be back. Let me see. Cole, your office, or otherwise looks the same. Scotty, I don't know what room you're in, but digging the mic setup.
Fun fact, like Hutch and I are in the same building right now, but
it's true.
Figured it'd be too weird to do it in the same room.
Yeah. It would be 2v1.
Cole's office setup is like, I think it's like manicured. I think he manicures this to make it look badass.
I got to keep it real for the people, you know?
I've noticed a lot of like Sports Center, like they don't even have in-studio shows anymore. It's like just people on podcasts, right? It's just from their house.
Oh, yeah. Well, funny thing, so I haven't had ESPN in a long time because I just do streaming services.
Yeah.
And ESPN was the one that you can't get anywhere unless you get like YouTube TV or you know one of these other where you're basically buying basic cable still. And they're just about to launch, and probably by the time this comes out, launching ESPN on the ESPN app. So I'm pretty psyched about that. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I can finally watch these shows again, except when I'm at the barber or something.
They've kind of gone downhill. It's all about the live sports, really.
Oh, okay.
Most of the sports stuff, I don't have any streaming apps really either. I just I find whatever like Nicaraguan hosted website is out there, and if you click, you can close the ads really fast. You can usually watch whatever you want. Is what I.
That's
But
old school.
you
That's
got
old school.
you got to click.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I haven't paid for a UFC fight in 20 years. Is that?
Probably not something you want to admit on a podcast.
Oh my gosh! I pay for all my stuff, guys. I pay for all my stuff. That was role playing right here. We just.
I mean, UFC is like another one where it's like, oh my god, this is just brutal television.
Yeah, I've never actually watched a pay-per-view of UFC. I've seen it a few times on ESPN Plus because they kind of give you like the off-brand fights on there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what's this? Just click on it and like, whoa, okay.
I've paid for them myself several times, full price, totally legal.
Yeah, I mean that definitely.
Today we have Hutch here, a repeat guest, because he's such a badass at just being able to banter and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different. There's no interview today. We're just going to talk articles. So just hang out, have fun.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, what you got for
you want to kick us off, Cole? Like I'm eager to see what Cole has.
Yeah, I've been sitting on this one for a little while, so I think let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Sorry, I'm not prepared, but I'm pretty excited about it. So, and she actually reached out to me the other day, but a lady named Heidi Wu, I guess she's a PhD doing something somewhere. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But she made a post of some research that she had done saying, "Are you a pretty PhD?" A new study found that if you are a social science PhD, the more attractive your face is, the higher speaking fees you can command. However, if you are a natural science PhD, the uglier you are, the more you get paid as a speaker.
Wow.
And you can get an ugly premium in the labor market. And so she hyperlinks to the research and shows kind of the facial attractiveness of the different kinds of disciplines here. But what did you think about this one?
So the prettier you are in social sciences, the higher your speaking fee. The uglier you are, I'd love to know what that measure is. The higher your fee for natural sciences.
Yeah, I think they have a facial attractiveness measure. I'm assuming it's just like they rate people. They probably had some like raters,
like symmetry or something.
Yeah, something like that. I haven't looked that deeply into it, but I just thought this would be one to kind of kick us off with a bang of like, finally somebody out there doing the research we all want to know.
This is the real. So what natural science is now, guys? I don't have a PhD, hardly a BA at that. So is a natural science like I read about volcanoes all day? Is that?
Yeah, I always think like geology, and she's probably lumping in. I would say like maybe the harder sciences like the physics, the chemistry, things like that. Because I always think it's like social sciences versus like the natural sciences or harder sciences. So I suspect that's what it is.
It's easy to make the case for the attractive, right? That's the easy case to make. The better you look, the more people are going to want to talk to you.
Well, and like on a more like slightly more serious note, one of the things I always talk about, people are always talking about like our algorithms biased and how are we biasing things about everything? And I'm like, the number one bias by a good margin is attractiveness, and no one ever talks about it. And it's like, but this is like one of the key biases out there. The most interesting thing to me about the research is that you actually found the opposite to be true in certain instances, which is almost never the case.
So assume someone's just on a volcano somewhere. They're have the sun beating down on them all day, every day. That does damage to the skin. I'm trying to make some sort of rationale here.
Natural sciences, is the sample size of attractive people in natural sciences too small to no.
You guys are going in a totally different direction with this. I'm going to give you. I'm going to paint with a really broad brush here. Probably be pilloried for it. What I think it is the eccentric types in the natural sciences who are probably more likely to be ugly are seen as more brilliant. They're seen as more brilliant, and therefore, when they are paid to speak, they're considered they get paid higher fees because of how eccentric and brilliant they appear to be.
I mean, this is kind of where I was going too, but not the eccentric part. But the part
Yeah.
where they're the best. They've been out on the mountain for years, right? Their skin's all torn up from the sun. Or I guess like you sit in a lab all day, like you're just like
Well, I think about it like
no
you ever
sun.
watch like dinosaur shows as a kid, and you learn about like paleontologists, and it was always like the gruffiest ones. You're like, that's the real paleontologist. You know, it's not like the one that like comes out in a business suit. I'm like, you got to get your hands dirty if you're not, doing this properly.
I don't know, Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. There's a look. There's like a very specific like geologist look, I think.
Yeah.
At least on the 2 or 3 podcasts I've seen where geologists are there. Those are the only geologists I know personally.
Is there like
no,
a geologist like wardrobe that like gets like all the ladies like cargo shorts with like the Timberland boots
with the Tims? I think that could do the trick. Yeah. Well, so if you're multidisciplinarian, is being a 5 out of 10 like the best way to go about it? You could, in theory, get speaking fees for both sciences.
See, that might be the most controversial thing we've said so far. I don't think the natural sciences respect the social sciences one iota.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think they would listen to the social scientists at all. Anyway, Scott, you got one for us?
Yeah, I got okay. Like I have 4 for us. They range from like unhinged to slightly hinged. Which direction would you like to go? Would you like to start wild, or would you like to start more tame?
Yeah, let's start tame and get wilder as the
Okay.
episode goes on.
At the peak, okay.
We're gonna peek out. I found this interesting. This is can y'all see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, this is a study done, I don't know, by Understanding America study. But anyway, this guy plotted the change in personality across different 3 different age cohorts from 2014 to 2024, with the note that internet is changing our personalities. And it's a really fascinating graph here, right? So baselined average personality in 2014, and just watching the drift across conscientiousness, neuroticism, agreeableness, and extroversion. Notable patterns, but like what strikes y'all?
Well, I think it requires a little bit more explanation for the folks who are listening. So it plots 16 to 39-year-olds, 40-year-olds to 59-year-olds, and then people who are 60 plus. And I think one of the things you see throughout here is if you're over the age of 60, it's the access to phones and the internet or whatever, social media, whatever they're saying here. It hasn't changed personality all that much. But if you're in the 16 to 39-year-old range, they're seeing some massive swings. Conscientiousness is going way down. Neuroticism is going way up, i.e. emotional stability is going way down. Agreeableness is going way down. And then funny enough, the one that all 3 groups are seeing go down is extroversion. So all 3 groups have seen extroversion decrease. But I don't know, what were your takeaways on this, Scott?
Well, first off, they all make sense, right? Neuroticism in particular, where I've seen a lot of other reports of especially kids being fed this idea that they're ADHD, undiagnosed, self-diagnosed sort of issues. And I think that just spending all day on your phone obviously has rampant effects, right? Of course it would. And I think we're starting to see that now. Otherwise, extroversion as well. Everyone's becoming more socially isolated. We've known this since the book Bowling Alone, right? Where we're seeing the breakdown of society.
Well, Hutch, had you come across this already, or was this new to you?
No, this is new. I can't say I'm surprised. I'd love to see a split that does take the millennials specifically, because in theory they have the tools to deal with what's happening in changing society. Like, started with the cell phones, saw the rise of the internet, are now being inundated with TikTok dances or what have you. So I don't know. I'm surprised 16 to 39 plummeted that far, but it's fascinating.
I wonder if those 2 cohorts are just too similar to separate, because I mean that's like, how much in common does a 17-year-old have with a 37-year-old, really?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you
Yeah.
should probably cut that one down the middle, and you probably find something even more interesting. But like, I had come across this already. I told Scott this briefly before the podcast. Apparently, and again, I haven't dug into it, but there's a whole debate about this now. Like, is this data correct? Is it not? I don't know who's right and who's wrong because again, I haven't dug into it. But the two that stood out the most to me is the conscientiousness and neuroticism, right? And I think you hear a lot about this in the media about hiring of new college graduates or just younger people more generally. Is like, the kids these days are made differently. And you always hear things like that, like every few years. They're like, oh, this generation is fundamentally different than the one before it. But I think what you're seeing here is fundamentally, if conscientiousness is going down, people like literally probably aren't showing up for work anymore, or at least not as often.
Yeah.
And they're probably not completing their task one time. And if neuroticism is going up, that means, stress, anxiety, depression, like all the, negative bad things that happen to human beings, those are probably spilling over into the workplace even more. And that, that's got to be a challenge. And I mean, I don't know, this got to have some negative societal consequences as well.
That looks like it. Seeing that neuroticism one go up, and I mean, neuroticism probably is the worst connotation of those four. It's like that. I don't know. I'm not surprised to see that. I don't know what the downstream impacts will be, but I did want to. Okay, one thing though on the agreeableness. So the trope of like the old person who's like, well, you know what? What we're seeing is the exact opposite is true. The old person is actually becoming more agreeable, and everyone else is becoming, get off my lawn. So I'm just saying, we're breaking down barriers here, guys.
That's a weird one. Like, also, openness is not plotted here. I assume because it's correlated
probably
with
didn't change.
agreeableness.
Yeah, I'm just guessing it didn't change. And there was actually, I know there's some other charts here. I assume you don't have pulled up, but I think there were some other interesting findings. But the agreeableness one, to me, I think that's just it shows the toxicity of online, discourse.
Yeah,
and younger people are more driving that than older people, it seems like.
You're right about the conscientiousness too. I mean, that's how people are hired. That's how people are judged at work. We saw a decline in people's memory ability once the printing press came around. So now we have the rise of the internet, and not only the internet, but like the rise of the cell phone, right? The always on internet.
I have a sheer amount of stimulus. Like, I don't know how you look at like negative online discourse ruining your day versus sheer amount of stimulus making it challenging for you to deal with your own feelings in a positive way and express that positively. But like the sheer amount of stimulus can be overwhelming. It would be really challenging to be a young person in the new workplace.
Oh my God.
With the amount of stimulus out there.
Well, imagine if anything you said could get you canceled at any moment. I mean, I grew up, I did dumb shit in high school, right? There's no record of it. No one knows. Like now, kids will, if other kids see them dancing, that's cringe. Fuck you.
Yeah, like that one UFC fight I streamed from 4chan. And like, is that gonna ruin my whole career? I'm gonna keep this one going. I really like that I've chosen this trope for myself. I'm just gonna keep leaning into it.
I think you were on to something earlier, Hutch, about the stimulus. Like, if anybody knows anything about like behavioral conditioning, and stimulus response, it's one of the key, like one of the most proven scientific ways of like reprogramming humans, right? And we've been hearing for years like, oh, our phones are reprogramming us.
Yeah.
But what you're really seeing is like, again, for the sake of argument, let's say this data is actually true. I think you're actually seeing it now. Like the fears are warranted. Like it is happening, and it is truly impacting because I mean, Scott, you and I both know this from the research. Like traits like conscientiousness should be somewhat normally distributed in the population. Therefore, if you took an average, it should be around 50 percentile, right?
Of course.
And so if the numbers are going down, you're actually changing innate individual difference characteristics about individuals and in mass. And that is
the population mean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're changing the population mean, the mu, and that's terrifying. Like I mean, it really is actually happening. The fears are warranted.
I mean, like back in the day, there used to be the argument that like violent video games would, turn you violent. And every research study I've seen says like, no, it doesn't work. But it totally makes sense that it would, right? Like the more shit, negative things that you're exposed to, the more you think about it. I don't know if that's rap music, gangster rap music, or like.
Well, imagine if you had violent video games in your pocket pinging you
Yeah,
150
yeah.
times a day. It's like it would probably be a qualitative difference than just playing violent video games.
Yeah, because that dopamine response occurs over and over and over again. That's one extra interesting thing, guys. Like on the extroversion piece, as we were talking, I don't know if y'all have done any reading or research on the state of dopamine response and like the effect that constant stimulus has on your dopamine receptors. But think of the things that typically make you feel good, and a lot of them are associated with extroversion. So
Of
I get a
course.
dopamine response when I high five Scott going down the
Yeah.
hall, or if I'm playing like basketball with my buddies, or we're hanging out at the movies. But if my dopamine responses are nonstop stimulus all day, I really don't feel the need to do those things in the way that I would have like in the past. So I don't know.
And just think about like all these social media companies feeding you the most outlandish things to get a rise out of you, to keep you going, to give you that dopamine response. Things that will like encourage neuroticism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just got to kind of keep upping the dosage, right? And then at a certain point, it just doesn't do it for you anymore.
No,
The
you
only
need
way out is
something
through.
sustained.
That's what I say.
Is that what you say?
Why not? What you got, Cole? What you got, Cole?
I got one a little less, a little less spicy. I probably should have started with this one if we're going to get more and more spicy as we go along.
You
This
keep
was
people
just
coming
interesting.
back.
Like I found it interesting. Somebody just did a comprehensive analysis of all the theories of motivation and drivers of human behavior, which actually might be related to what we were just talking about.
Perfect.
And so it got published in a journal called Acta Psychologica, which I've never heard of
Yeah, I've
before.
heard of this.
Okay, I haven't. But they go. I'm not gonna go through all of them, but it goes through probably 20 or so theories of motivation. So you've got instinct theory, behaviors are innate, not learned. Arousal theory, motivation stems from the desire to maintain optimal levels of arousal. Incentive theory, behavior is driven by the desire for rewards or avoidance of punishment. Intrinsic motivation theory, driven by enjoyment, interest, or internal satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll just wrap it up with extrinsic, since that's the other side of the equation, driven by external rewards. So what do you guys think about this? Like, is it kind of neat to see, what all different ways human beings are motivated?
Of course.
He's like, we can't come back to something lame like this.
No. Like I have a lot of thoughts on, honestly.
Okay. Go for it, man.
It all comes down to like, do you want to? I think that's what like all the counseling PhD students would say. Like, oh, you can have all the motivation, but it comes down to you want to. I'd be curious if whoever put this together is a grad student. Because that's the only time in your life that you're going to be exposed to all these sort of things in a way that you can connect all the dots together. Like I've talked to John Benning and Barrett, and he put together his theory of validation while in grad school, and it made total sense to me. You're studying for comps, you have all the materials laid out, you can connect the dots in ways that you can't do it later in your career, and everything's fresh to you, so you can start seeing connections between them. And I just wonder if this person got deep in the rabbit hole of motivation and put it all together.
I looked up the primary author. He does not appear to be a graduate student, but that's not to say that maybe a secondary author was. So that's definitely a potential.
or someone in his company said, hey, what are the theories of motivation? It's like, I will go look at them.
Yeah. Well, I think about it, like, and this one actually, it rings true to an article I have later coming up, but also, I mean, I remember when this one kind of like struck a nerve with me, because we were doing our comprehensive exams in graduate school, we had to write about like theories of motivation, and there was one like key one that I'd left out, and I got like penalized for it. So I had to do some oral exams about it later, and it was listed here, and I was like, oh dang it! I wish I had had this article when I was in graduate school, so I wouldn't have gotten dinged on my comprehensive exams.
You left out that one theory.
Yeah.
What Vroom's VIE theory? Valence? Is that what you left out?
No, it was the self-determination theory. So
Mm,
for those of you who are not initiated, it's motivation is strongest when psychological needs for autonomy, competence, and relatedness are met.
yeah.
So that was
That sounds about
Good
right.
one.
yeah.
Is
Never
there
never gonna forget that one now, you know.
is there a value proposition in understanding how a specific individual is motivated? Like, and I couldn't. Is that what they were proposing in the article, that like a given individual may have specific types of motivation that drive them?
No, I think it's literally just supposed to be kind of like a comprehensive understanding. Like sometimes in scientific journals they'll do like you have to do like a few science experiments and then you publish the results. But sometimes they'll do kind of like an opus article, which is just showing here's kind of the state of the field. This
Hmm.
is more of a state of the field type of article.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
Yeah.
But like self-determination theory, that can go a long way. Just like looking at why someone is behaving the way they do. It's like, oh, you got a need for competence right now. That's why you're arguing so vehemently in this meeting. Or you need relatedness. Like you need someone just to reach out to and just like be connected to people. It's a great framework to just structure your thinking, really.
Absolutely.
Based off
Absolutely.
2 articles then ago, do we think more people need relatedness, Scott? Is that what you're implying?
Oh, I mean, like I do a bunch of social network analysis. Yes, 1,000%. People that are more connected are happier. All the things. Honestly, we should put down our phones. I'm starting to see some. Oh gosh, where is it? It's like Ohio somewhere. Don't quote me on that, but they've essentially banned phones from all schools.
I've seen
Yeah.
those. Hmm.
K
They've done
through
that.
12.
They've done that at least in our school district in Texas.
Did they? Did they?
Yeah.
Well, I saw a teacher talking. He's like, finally, the students can listen to me, and like all we need to do is ban the phones, and finally we can get back to the way we were. Why'd it have
Yeah.
to be so difficult?
I don't know if it's a hard ban in the sense like I think some schools like won't allow you to have them on premises, but they've just said you cannot take them out. Like they cannot be used except like outside the classroom. So
Yeah,
people can have them in like their backpacks and stuff like that.
man. Growing up, my parents had no idea what I was doing at any time. No idea. I could be in Oklahoma, hang out with Hutch.
When they gave me the keys to the 99 Ford Taurus, I was on the open road. From that
Oh.
moment on, freedom, pure freedom in the Great Plains of Oklahoma.
Now that's an interesting question. Like, do kids still like yearn to get their driver's license at 16 the way they did back in the day?
Driver's license numbers have plummeted. I don't know if you've heard about this.
Is that
No.
true? Interesting.
Yeah. Like, and I mean, there's a variety of reasons for it, I think, but I think they've done studies. I'm going way back here, so I'm probably making this up now. But I think like a lot of 18-year-olds even don't have their driver's license. So it's not even 16-year-olds. Like, so they go to college and they still, don't have a form of identification, which is kind of wild.
Well, I guess you can get everything like Uber Eats to you, and your friends are neurotic, so they don't want to hang out with you. They're introverted now, so they don't want to hang out. Definitely.
Definitely going to argue with you because they're not agreeable. Yeah.
On one
Yeah.
hand, I think the youngsters should be hitting the open road in their 99 Ford Taurus. On the other hand, texting and driving is a serious problem in society. So I'm like, maybe the numbers should be going down.
Yeah.
But that's all ages, by the way. The people I see texting and driving, like they're the most agreeable ones. If you want to harken back to that slide.
Oh my God! When I was at Louisiana Tech, I would walk to school every day, and
Uphill,
almost
but
every
right.
person that passed by me would just be like staring at the crotch. In their car, just driving, staring at the crotch. Like, oh my God, this is terrifying.
Yeah, texting and driving that's wild.
Don't do it, kids.
You know what they should do? They should make it to where you have to get your driver's license to be able to get a phone, and then more kids will get driver's licenses.
Now we're
You want to
talking.
keep talking about kids? Why not?
Sure.
The Gen
Cue up
Z
the next one.
stare. The Gen Z stare. Have y'all heard about this?
No.
What an image.
Yeah, isn't that wild? So the Gen Z stare is this phenomenon that gained prominence about a month ago online, where people noticed that when you ask Gen Z a question, they will just give you a blank, vacuous look in place of an actual social response. So this
Noticed.
article,
I didn't know this was a thing. I've noticed this. Oh my gosh.
yes, 1000%. So it goes into like the professor from Alabama. I don't know what she actually studies, but she talks about students in her classroom. She has to like beg them for a response to questions because the kids are afraid that they're going to stand out, and other kids are going to like ostracize them, or this sort of thing. Of course, the Gen Zs, when you ask them about it, they say that they're just giving a dumbfounded look to a very stupid question, which I think that every generation's done that. Like you ask such a dumb question that you have no real response to it. This is more probably COVID related, I'm guessing, but it seems to be a real phenomenon where Gen Z has like a issue with some like basic sort of social skills.
Wait, going back to Hutch's point from earlier about stimulus response. Well, imagine during kind of your formative years, to build off your point, Scott, during your key formative years when you would be, being called upon by your professor, or, you have to present a class project or a group project or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And, how you presented yourself was like part of your grade. And then you got to do it on video and or not on video. Like you actually, you were audio only, but not on video. And so like your, self presentation skills just were at a cool zero, right? And then you go out into the, the world, flips back to pre-COVID conditions where people are going into offices and self presentation skills have a premium. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
you're like ill-equipped. So somebody asks you a question and you look dumbfounded, and you're like, is my video turned off? Can nobody see my face? And when really it's like, no, everybody sees you. Like this is happening in this moment right now.
Yes, and I gave a talk at a university. I don't know, January, something like that, and I asked the crowd, like, I was trying to make a broader point about the changing nature of work as Gen AI rolls in, this sort of thing. I was like, okay, who plans on having a job next year? 80 people in the crowd, not a single hand. Okay, maybe they're like freshmen, whatever. 2 years, not a hand. 4 years, not a hand. See, anybody plan on having a job? And this one guy like raised his hand. I was like, fucking money bags up there. Like, go get his digits, ladies. Like he's the one that's going to be having money.
Yeah.
Like, no, what?
Oh, you go, Hutch.
Yeah, I want to go on this story, Scott. Was it they didn't expect to have a job due to extenuating like economic circumstances, or they just didn't?
Well, I mean
think they were
that's
gonna
another
work?
angle that I didn't anticipate, but I really think that like they were just like embarrassed to raise their hand. They might have been called out in a crowd. Like, and granted, I was not going to ask them to come up on stage or anything like that. They don't know that at the time.
Yeah.
But I just want to get a feel for like who was coming out of into the workforce in the near future. But even that seemed like a too big of a task to raise their hand.
Well, I think what you did, and this is just speculation on my part, but having dealt with a few of these folks now, from having taught classes a few years ago during COVID, but also just working with people in general in the workplace, is like you broke social decorum, right? So we had like a pre-COVID set of like what was considered social decorum in class, and then post-COVID, social decorum completely changed, and you're the odd man out. And to you, you're like, yeah, but isn't this like a preparatory school for like the real world? And it's like, yeah, but the preparatory school's rules, social rules changed, and you didn't change with them. But the thing is, those folks are going to graduate and presumably want jobs, I would suspect. and the world's going to kind of leave them behind. And that's the sad part, in my opinion.
No, the other angle here is like it bleeds out beyond just the classroom, right? Like I've seen reports of waitresses going to a table with Gen Z, and it's like, okay, y'all want anything to eat? You know, you figured out what you want? Nothing. Just staring. Oh, maybe you haven't decided yet. Nothing. But I mean, this is going to be, you know, we've covered generational research, right? And every generation has their like quirks, and they're all kind of the same because they're going through, you know, sort of like a maturation process. This seems to be a real phenomenon, and if they're coming into the workforce, man,
I think there's something to be said about being chronically online during your formative
Yep.
years.
Yep.
And I think, Cole, you mentioned it. Like, if you have this cohort of young people who are going through high school and they spend several years being unable to figure out how to interact socially in like a classroom setting where you raise your hand or you're trying to get someone's attention or make eye contact with the teacher, whatever it may be. Like, it's these small nuanced moments that perhaps they've not had the same exposure to, and it could bleed into like sitting ordering food with your waitress. I think that there's a lot of interesting things that we've taken for granted perhaps in terms of like social interaction during our formative years that we are only now seeing the repercussions of.
Well, I think one of two things happens. To use your kind of waitress example, Scott, is either A, when you go into a restaurant, and I already see this sometimes, I do find it frustrating, is you have to order everything through your phone, even though there is a waiter or a waitress. Or B, B, they have to get socialized, right? En masse, right? To be able to talk to other human beings like human beings. And the sad part in my mind is I think we're going to go with A. And so it's like, can you quit asking me questions? I'm just going to order it through my phone.
Chili's is already there. Sad place to go. Sad place.
Oh, man. I think Seattle's turned totally Gen Z. Like, this place does not make eye contact. Like,
and we don't even have Chili's here.
We
like,
don't have
I don't
Chili's.
know what the deal is.
They'd be totally confused.
I wish we had Chili's. Hey, I have a question for you guys, though, that I think you'll really appreciate. Even the Gen Z social scientists, if they're 10 out of 10, do you think that they do the blank stare too? Because they got to get prepared for their like extreme speaking payments, right? That's the
oh yeah, the super hot Gen Zs.
Yeah, do they do the blank stare?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, it's an easy differentiator for that population, right? If you have a modicum of social skills, look out. You're super hireable. I mean, this is why like social skills are such a rare commodity, especially in the tech space, right? Like you can stand out very easily.
That's the only reason I remain employed, frankly.
Well, I wonder, now you got my wheels spinning. Like, what are the kind of the key occupations and professions that you have to have social skills for? So I think like the number one on the list is like sales.
Yes.
And I wonder if Gen Z is struggling at sales jobs more than prior generations. Like that would be a canary in the coal mine test for this type of hypothesis.
That's a great dissertation topic for somebody, right?
And it has an attractiveness component too, because there's been tons of work showing like attractive salespeople do better than unattractive salespeople. It's why if like pharmaceutical reps are always like, you know, smoking hot, like all that kind of stuff. And so it's like,
you ain't wrong.
Yeah. So it could control for the conditions that you were bringing up, Hutch, of like, you know, are the more attractive ones doing better? I don't know. But, you know, if they can't talk to people at a certain point, they're probably going to struggle at sales.
I think so.
The worst place you can go is the geology store. Those sales reps.
They're like, get out of here. You sell, what do you say with seismographs? Like, you only purchase seismographs from the most just unattractive.
Just a rock hammer, like the dude from Shawshank Redemption. Right?
Yeah. You're like, I'll take 2, please.
Snaggletooth is our top seller again this quarter for seismographs. To take him more seriously.
He's out there on the boat. They're making international waters deals.
Well, Scott, do you want me to hit you with the next one?
Yeah, I don't think we can carry this much further.
All right. This one, interesting. So, previous guest on the podcast, Mark Efron and the Talent Strategy Group published an article called "The Worst Doctor at Harvard Medical School," and it's not about medical school. Just for those of you out there, so he says each year Harvard Medical School graduating class includes one doctor who is ranked at the bottom of their class, and he goes on and on and on. He says there's a phrase used to describe this person. They are called Harvard Medical School doctor, right? And
Okay.
so he's making the case for stack ranking and performance rankings not being so sinister because Harvard Medical School does it, so shouldn't everybody else do it? So he goes through kind of the history here, how people blame stack ranking getting a bad name because of GE and Jack Welch and the rank and yank and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He talks about relative versus absolute ratings, and rankings create, and so he's kind of building the case for them. Rankings create data that enables but doesn't force the decision. It allows for differentiated investment, and top talent likes being ranked. And therefore, his conclusion is that ranking motivates people, whether you're intrinsically or extrinsically motivated. And that gets back to the motivation article from earlier, because if you're intrinsically motivated, you say, I'm better than that, I'll show them. Or if you're extrinsically motivated, I want the rewards and recognition that others aren't getting or are getting, as why you will perform better if you use a ranking based performance management tool. So what do you guys think about this one?
So he's not advocating for getting rid of rankings. He's
advocating for rankings.
For rankings.
Did they ever fall out of favor? I thought I rank everything all day long, just ranking. Are people not doing this anymore?
Microsoft got rid of their stack ranking system because they knew of like a team of 10, 2 people are going to have a fantastic conversation. 7 are going to have mediocre, and like one's going to have a horrific conversation, no matter how good they are.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I'll since he made the case for, I'll make the case against. How about that? Since he provides a lot of data in the article. The two things I don't think he considers, one is the Harvard Medical School example is not a good example. And the reason why is because if you're in the top 10 bottom percent of doctors, you don't get fired from ever being a doctor.
Yeah.
Whereas in the rank and yank, you do. And so it's a false equivalence in terms of the argument that he's making there, that you shouldn't stigmatize rankings because Harvard Medical School does it, but Harvard Medical School doesn't do it the way that GE did it, or that Microsoft did it, or whoever else, right? The second thing I'd say is kind of the point he makes in there about differentiated rewards. It is formulated as a zero-sum game. And in a zero-sum game, for one person to win, another person has to lose.
Yeah.
And anybody who studies game theory economics knows that zero-sum games kind of always devolve into like really negative consequences. And so my kind of viewpoint on this is always, if you could create a positive sum game out of the situation, it would work better. So sorry, Scott.
It's different as well in that, like, Harvard Medical, they're not in the position of like trying to put out a continuum of doctors, right? They're saying you are accredited, you know everything you need to know to be a doctor. What you do after that is kind of on you. Kind of to your point, like where you're not going to be fired as a doctor if you're like 59 out of 59 or whatever it was, Mr. Irrelevant doctor.
Yeah, Mr. Irrelevant doctor.
Let me ask you guys this: if you and I know that we don't have access to this, but if you're going to choose, let's say, a medical doctor, and you could see a stack rank, you've got 250 choices, you've got a stack rank. Who are you going to select? Who will you select?
If we're using the articles from earlier, the one that's most attractive.
Yeah,
is that natural sciences?
Touche. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, would any number be good enough? Be like, I was 87 of 135. You'd be like, you're not good enough for my, melanoma, whatever it is.
If you're looking at like a patient-doctor relationship, or I come at it typically from like a customer and product perspective. Like I think it helps a customer make decisions about what they should do or partake in or purchase much more easily. When it comes to like intrinsic motivation, I don't know if that's the purpose of this article necessarily. It may not be as valuable, but I do like I'm ranking those hot wings. You know, I'm ranking my favorite chilies.
I mean, isn't it good enough to just be like, my doctor is from Harvard Medical?
I don't know.
Well, I think that gets to another interesting point, which is most of the times at a hospital, you don't have 100 doctors from Harvard and you're just asking them what their class rank was. You have a doctor from Harvard and a doctor from another school and a doctor from another school. And so then really the question becomes, do you want, a top ranked doctor from a lower tier medical school or Mr. Irrelevant doctor from Harvard?
Yeah.
And what is the comparison between those two? And I think that is an interesting question unto itself.
I think that is the question. What would you choose, Cole? The former or the latter?
I mean, the Malcolm Gladwellian answer is you choose the top 10% person. I think he published that in one of his books, that the top 10% graduates at any college are better than the bottom 50th percentile graduates at like elite universities or something like that. But I could be making that up in one direction. It's directionally correct, let's call it. But I think that's sort of the finding. I think realistically, where I think I think is valuable is you want people who've experienced success. I don't want a depressed doctor. Like I want somebody who's like, I'm going to crush this surgery. And because I've crushed all the surgeries before now and I have a track record of success and I kind of don't care where they came from, if that makes sense.
I think that works well for non-medical, right? I think you're right. I think the education that you get, Cole vanishing like my point there. The education that you get at one university is pretty much interchangeable with the education you get at a different university. But when it comes to like training for medical, I gotta believe that there's a difference in sort of school caliber and the training that you receive.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Bob Pulver, host to You podcast. Human-centric AI, AI-driven transformation, hiring for skills and potential, dynamic workforce ecosystems, responsible innovation. These are some of the themes my expert guests and I chat about, and we certainly geek out on the details. Nothing too technical. I hope you check it out.
Did you really?
Did Cole get canceled?
I think he got canceled.
All right, Scott, it's just you and I now. What's next?
Let's do it. Okay, well, you want to continue this or move on?
I don't know. Should we? You want to message him?
His computer's restarting. Like, let's go to here's something you and I can talk about.
Okay.
Check this out. It is a network analysis of Led Zeppelin's business networks. So
now we're about to get the lead out.
Get the lead out, baby. So these are all the connections that the members of Led Zeppelin have to various businesses they've founded or are contributing to, as well as their children. Everyone but who it said down here, Grant. Everyone but Grant has children. Pretty cool. My point here isn't necessarily that you should look at this chart in depth, but more like there's lots of ways to look at networks and different aspects of interconnections that extend beyond just social networks.
Scott, is there an image?
This is the image right here. Unfortunately, the article's janky and you really can't see.
Oh, wait, no, I can't see. I may not be clicked in the right spot. I can't see any images.
You can't see any images?
No.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can. No, I can only see you.
You can only see me?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, shit, we probably have to do some real editing now. Here, let's try again. Okay, can you see it now?
Negative.
Damn. Okay, well, take my word for it then. Hear me now, believe me later. There's a map of Led Zeppelin's business dealing networks. You're a Zeppelin fan, dude. Like, did you see the new doc?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I've not seen it yet, but along the what's interesting, and this may be similar in terms of like the direction that you're going from, like a social network analysis towards more of like a corporate dealings network analysis. What I think would also be really fascinating with Zeppelin is if you took a look at the network between Zeppelin, pre-Zeppelin songs that were covered by Zeppelin. Like there's a lot of Delta blues artists that came to
Yeah.
fame solely because Zeppelin covered them, and then looked at that distribution afterwards for where Zeppelin influenced um, other artists. And there's like this little overlap too between a whole bunch of British invasion folks that came right before Led Zeppelin, that are mishmashed in there as well. So like I think Zeppelin is probably the preeminent way to try and do some sort of network analysis on music, at least, or musical influence.
You got to watch the doc, and Cole's back here, Becoming Led Zeppelin.
Did you see it? You saw it?
I did. I saw it on the airplane. I saw it from Lisbon to Philly or something like that, and had to rewind it several different times. It's not the best movie in the world. Like, it's not a great doc. It tried to do too much. Like, it's not a great doc. Like, give you the backstory of all the people in the band. It kind of devolves into like a concert flick towards the end. So you get like a mismatch of both, and like I wish it went one way or the other. But I will say that some of their early shows where they're playing into like a crowd that has no idea who they are, no one's into it, they deliver some of the most like devastating jams you've ever seen in your fucking life. It's unreal awesome.
I love it. I'll have to check it out. If you're interested in that kind of space and you do want to think about some of the influences that led to both the British invasion and Led Zeppelin,
Yeah.
check out Martin Scorsese's The Blues documentary. It's a 4 or 5 part series. It's been a while since I've watched it. I think he did it for PBS. I was like in my teens when I watched it the first time and my mind was blown. But it's Martin Scorsese's The Blues.
I mean, he's just like a little up and coming filmmaker, so hopefully it's good.
Yeah.
Cole and I covered an article some time ago on essentially understanding innovative output. It essentially showed how you use cosine similarity between different artworks, be it things that they had produced for like literature or like actual art, and essentially showed at the very beginning they had a very sort of scattered outlook, and then they coalesced on a specific sort of, I don't know, identity. And that's where they produced all their best work, right? And I think that's sort of like what you're talking about too, like taking influences from a variety of places and then like wind up being Led Zeppelin.
Mm-hmm.
See, you talking about that, 'cause I think I'll probably have a different take now than when we originally discussed it. But with the music kind of frames this as, I think it's got to make you appreciate how little originality there is, right? Because there aren't very many music inventions. There's only innovations, right? So people draw from multiple areas. They kind of mix them together. They create a great gumbo of a music, and then they, that becomes Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Right. But there's very rare that somebody comes out and just like invents a new classical music or something like that. Right.
or you wind up with like rap rock, like the short-lived rap rock scene.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're always trying to bring back rap rock every few years.
Limp Bizkit was
to be a
pretty new.
artist.
That was pretty new when it came out. Maybe that's what you're looking for, Cole.
Yeah, but like that to me is like, that's all we got.
Yeah.
All we got is combining things in new ways because it's so hard to do something truly original.
Where'd the first music come from? Maybe that's an article to read. I don't know.
There's
Gilgamesh.
Oh, there's some cave in France that they said that has some sort of acoustic properties that they believe that the cavemen would sing to. Man, this is legit.
I think it's got to be yodeling. Yodeling is the first.
Yeah. Or one of those single-stringed instruments. Like it came out, I don't know, a piece of grass or something, stepped on it wrong when there was a cold breeze.
Yeah.
What do you listen to now, Cole? Like, you got anything on your musical calendar?
Oh my gosh, I've been turning into such a psychopath with music lately. I've been listening to like everything on repeat.
Yeah, that's just getting older.
Yeah, like just find a new song, like it, listen to it 200 times in a row, and until I can't stand it anymore, and then find another one. So I'm kind of all over the place with a few. I've got one. I've been on a, obviously, if anybody who listens to the podcast a long time knows this, I've been on an emo kick lately.
Oh,
But rediscovering a band called the Early November, and they published a new song after like 15 years, and it's about like how hard it is to be like out making money in the world. And I was like, I totally resonate with this. Like, this is so my life. Thank you for growing up with me, Early November. But yeah, that's been one on my mind lately. I don't know, anything you've got going on, Scott?
not really. Like divergent thoughts. Like one, like I recently looked at the Lollapalooza lineup, and like I recognized the biggest name. This is like a couple of them, but anything below that top line is like no idea who these people are.
It's called being old.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like, oh, it's dumbfounded jellyfish. You're like, I don't know what that is. Like, I'm not gonna go see that band. Why would I go do that? Plus, like, stand out in the summer heat, like 40,000 other people. No,
Dumbfounded Jellyfish is definitely a jam band. We
Yeah.
know that already.
If they opened for Blues Traveler, I'd go see that for sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Uh-huh.
Little runaround.
Runaround, that's the song to play on repeat.
Runaround's badass.
That is.
What are you into now, Hutch? What kind of music do you like?
I actually am kind of a jam band fan, but I think more recently than not, I've been listening to. This is gonna blow y'all's minds. There's a radio station here in Seattle. I don't even know which one it is. It just plays in the car when we go to work, and it's been introducing me to a lot of '80s music. I've never listened to '80s music, like Tears for Fears, everything that has all the synths in it, electric synths.
Yes.
And
Now you're
so,
speaking my language.
well, maybe we'll have to have a follow-up conversation on this because I am a bit of an audiophile, and so we just moved to Seattle more recently. I just got my record set up, and the first album that I played on the record setup was Tears for Fears, songs from the Big Chair. And I don't actually know if that's like the album or the amalgamation, like their greatest hits. But yeah, I'm on like an '80s music kick right now. I don't know why. It's giving me nostalgia for like the mall era of America,
Yeah,
like
1000%.
late '80s, very early '90s, and I was 3 during that time. So it's nostalgia that I've never experienced before.
I can bring this full circle. So if you looked at some of the earliest videos on MTV, the musicians were ugly as hell. They were so fucking ugly. And now the video actually killed the ugly musician, and in the process killed music as well.
It killed the radio star.
People had something to do. Now, not only do you have to be a good musician, but you have to be good looking as well.
Yeah, music used to be the natural sciences, and then it switched to the social sciences in the process. No, but I was thinking about this, Hutch. You actually described a phenomenon that I always called it Montgomery Ward music, like that '80s synth stuff, because you would always hear. There used to be a store in Monroe, Louisiana, where I grew up. It was called Montgomery Ward. It was kind of like Sears before Sears existed, or like something like that. And they always played that music, and so I always called it Montgomery Ward music. But it's funny. I'm curious though, since you said you were into jam bands, Hutch. Are you more into the what was the band name you said earlier, Scott? The discombobulated octopuses or something.
Whatever.
Yeah. Are you more into their early stuff or their later stuff? Is that like what are you into?
Like the jam band? It's whatever the jam band is.
Yeah.
I've gone down like for the various jam bands that I listen to, and by the way, I would consider Led Zeppelin to be one of the greatest original jam bands. But if you go back to the British invasion between like 65 and probably 72, there's a lot of jamming going on there, likely fueled by drugs and alcohol. I think it's just like I think every jam band has their one or two live sets that is the ultimate. It's just their ultimate set. And so whether that's their early stuff or it's like a bootleg from Tokyo that you just found on YouTube, or it's the actual album that went gold at live at the Red Rocks, what have you. I'm thinking of Dave Matthews there in particular. I think every jam band has their one quintessential live album where, be it like guest musicians or whatnot, they just channel that creativity, and it's the ultimate experience. That's my take on it.
I love that. I love that. That's almost sweet. I would call that sweet, Hutch. That's nice.
If you guys need an intro song, I was in high school. I was in a jam band called the Pastry Chefs, and we did a 14-minute rendition of "All Along the Watchtower" with at least 6 minutes of guitar of harmonica solos. So, if you guys need like an intro song for Directionally Correct, that might work for you. I think.
We just need the harmonica solo.
Oh, we
That'll be it.
we can make that happen.
I think the goal is to have a following that follows you city to city. That's the for any band, right? Like we need to sell out this arena for 2,000 people. Great, they're coming. They're following us around here.
Well, there's magic there, and I don't know if you think back to the slide that we looked at for the different attributes that they had said gone up and down. So, like neuroticism has gone way up. I don't know if that's going to eventually play into ticket sales for new bands, or if the way in which new bands do live tours will change if people aren't coming out to the shows. But certainly there's like an energy there that I think a band has when they're going on tour that enables their creativity. That maybe that dynamic is going to change between them and their fans in the future.
Well, I mean, you used to go on tour to sell the album,
Yeah.
but with like the rise of MP3s and all this sort of thing, like now you put out the album to sell the tour.
Mm.
And that's how bands make money now. It's like completely flipped how the music industry is run.
Yeah, I kind of like it now. This is the thing, because I used to go to a lot of concerts in the past. And one of the biggest bum moments of the concert is they play their new songs that you don't know yet.
Yeah, that does.
Right? And it's like, like this is the real tragedy. So like, let's say they play a new song that you don't know yet, but it ends up being your favorite song like 4 months later. But you saw them live before you knew the song, so you couldn't really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is a tragedy. Whereas that never happens in the MP3 era.
Yeah, interesting take.
People don't like sit with an album anymore either. Like you used to like unfold the art, and like that became part of the whole experience because like music was it was difficult to get. You had to go to the CD warehouse or whatever. You had to go buy it, bring it home, open up the pamphlet, look at all the things. Now it's like, it's like, yeah, buy 99 cents or I guess just Spotify, whatever people do now.
Yeah.
It's just totally on demand.
I think you're tapping into something, Scott, too, because like I remember I would always try to like draw the album art.
Yeah, of course.
And that like helped me as like an artist, right?
Yeah.
Is you would learn like really new creative like ideas just from, because it would always have like really wild, trippy album art, and you could like try to copy it, and that would help me from like a drawing standpoint.
Well, if you think that's amazing, check this out. How familiar are you with Tartaria, Cole?
Tartaria. Is that a Game of Thrones reference?
Can you see my screen, Cole?
I cannot.
I can't either.
Sorry.
Damn. Okay. Well, this article is called Tartaria: The Mystery Behind the Lost Empire.
Oh, there we go.
The Mud Flood Conspiracy. So Tartaria was a real place, located in Asia. Where the fuck are we? There we are.
Can you explain it?
Yeah. So it was a real place, and people believe that there was once upon a time a Tartarian empire where they built lavish buildings across the globe, and for whatever reason, their civilization was wiped off the map. But we still see remnants of those buildings around, say like the U.S. Capitol, various places in Chicago. And it was all due to the mud floods that wiped out these people. And they think that there's a great civilization reset that happened. And they kind of covered up this part of history. Sort of an interesting, like, sort of mental experiment here.
Don't even get me started.
Let's do it. Let's get started, baby.
Well, I want Cole's reaction.
Well, considering this sounds like very similar to like Atlantis or something like this,
some kind of like pre-civilization that got destroyed by a great event, and
Yeah.
Plato talked about it, so people believe it's real. But what you're saying sounds a lot more like bullshit. So can you maybe Hutch has more information on this?
Oh, I think Scott was inspired one time when we talked about the World's Fairs here. But what's interesting about the Tartarian story is that Tartary was on world maps for I don't know how many years if it's in the article, Scott, but it was referencing this area east of Russia, southeast of Russia, near Mongolia. That just no one knew what to call it, so they just called it Tartary, and it crafted like 100 years of conspiracy theories up until now about what that empire actually was and who they were and what they accomplished.
Yes, it sounds very hokey, right? It sounds very hokey. But let's assume let's assume that it's true, right? How would you get the word out that it is true? Like, there's no journal going to publish this.
Well, first you'd start by talking about it on Directionally Correct.
Yeah.
And then people would definitely write it off. So,
well, so okay,
is this the equivalent of There Be Dragons on maps? Is this what we're talking about here?
No.
Okay.
Well, it's got a little bit of that. I think that's part of the historical reference that you can make now, if depending on which direction you want to take with the Tartarians. Just leave this with dead silence. So what I think is really interesting though is like the premise, and this is fun to think about. The premise that gets people excited about the Tartarians is that all the World's Fairs that popped up in the late 1800s to early 1900s, that those buildings that they ultimately tore down after the World's Fair, the buildings and the landscaping with the water fixtures, all of that was actually Tartarian technology. And how could it have existed in the late 1800s? How could it have been built so quickly just for the World's Fair? So that's like that's the leading hypothesis of where you have Tartarian architecture.
It is wild that we used to build buildings that were super ornate, made of stone. They look gorgeous. And now our cities are full of just, glass and metal, and it's a trash culture, right? It's like, tear that down in like 30 years anyway. Try again, something new. But you have these like beautiful, beautiful buildings sitting around.
So are you advocating for a Tartarian Renaissance?
You gonna bring them back? You gonna bring them back?
Sign me up.
The World's Fairs are incredible. Like, they built these like massive structures. We don't have World's Fairs anymore.
That's the thing that I really truly desire is a World's Fair. I was watching this footage from the St. Louis World's Fair. I can't remember. This was in like the early 20s, I think. And it's black and white and like super duper choppy. But it's just imagine it. Just imagine going to a World's Fair for the first time. I guess now that we have the internet, perhaps no one needs to imagine much of anything. But I'm just putting myself in the shoes of someone at that time. The grandeur and the new ideas that you would experience, it'd be mind blowing. I'd be Gen Z staring at those buildings. Let me tell you that.
Imagine seeing like the light bulb for the first time. You'd be like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
It's an electronic candle.
Electronic candle, baby. I remember going to the State Fair of Texas, and they had a little exhibition for HD TV, and it was essentially like, I don't know, like a banana and apple and like a Coke can or something like that on a table rotating, and the camera filming it, and you could see the HD version on the TV. That's essentially what it was. It's all demi, like, wow, this is the future.
Did it blow your mind?
It was cool.
It's like the World's Fair, but so much less.
Well, now like everything's just released. Like Hutch was saying, everything's just released online. You get these sort of like Apple updates. Not that Apple's released anything great in a long time.
You lose the ritual. When it's released online, you lose the ritual of placing the record on the table or standing in line for the new Star Wars film. I kind of miss the ritual. I think humans need the ritual
That's what I'm saying about the records, right?
Yeah.
Like you need to spend time with it. I think this is where Gen AI is really going to get us as well. Like you can dump in a bunch of shit into Gen AI and it'll push out an answer, and it looks good and it is good, great. But like, what did you really learn?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of the theme of the podcast today, because we're also talking about like Gen Z needs the ritual of learning to talk to a waiter or waitress or learn how to present in their new job, or talk to strangers. So
How do you
we
think
need the
your Gen
ritual.
Z viewership will feel about this episode, Cole, Scott?
I think they will not like it at all.
I don't think I don't think Gen Z watches long format anything anyway.
I don't know about that. I do think
You don't
podcasts
think
have
so?
become like ubiquitous. Yeah, I do. Like long format, hour plus. I think there's just so many out there. There is a lot of options. But I could be wrong. I don't know for sure.
I figure like Gen Z, or hell, everybody. Not gonna just like lump in Gen Z, but everybody. We're going to like a clip culture sort of thing. Like if it isn't like in 60 seconds, I don't care. If I can't watch it on TikTok, what's the use?
Mm.
Womp womp.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're a outdated mode of technology, and people will quit listening to us ever so slowly, and then all at once, like bankruptcy. All right. Well, ending on a high note. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah.
Hutch, or
Yeah.
whatever you want to go by.
No, it's good. It's good to be back, guys. It's good to be back. I don't really have anything like informative or educational to share with you in the people analytics front, so I'm glad we chose the banter method here.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here. Stack ranking is the only way to do employee ratings. If you're Gen Z, still love us later, just not from this episode. And yeah, Led Zeppelin's a good band. So good episode today. Scott, any final words for Hutch before we wrap up?
No. Let's get out of here.
Scott, I'll see you later.
Later,
Cole,
dude.
thanks for having me.
Yeah.
See y'all.
Yeah. All right. You've been listening to Directionally Correct, the People Analytics podcast with Cole and Scott. And today's guest, Hutch, even though we don't really talk about people analytics today. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.